So let's discuss eligibility for adjustment of status. I know that adjustment of status is a very popular option for couples, and we have a lot of couples that come to us and say, oh, I want to do adjustment of status. That seems like the best option. It seems like the fastest option. That's the one that I choose. And that's great for those who are indeed eligible for adjustment of status. It really is a great option. Not everyone is eligible though for adjustment of status, and that's why I'm making this video, to really break down those eligibility requirements. Immigration law is complex, and so I do everything I can to kind of provide you with a Reader's Digest or summarized version of immigration laws to make it as clear as possible. And so there are a lot of eligibility requirements, but there's 4 very important and 4 main eligibility requirements that I will be reviewing here with you today. So the first eligibility requirement is that you entered the United States, that you were admitted or inspected when you entered the United States. So that essentially means that you entered the United States lawfully, that you entered with some type of visa, like an H-1B visa, or maybe a student visa, like an F-1 visa. So that is the first requirement, that you entered with inspection. Now, I'm going to digress just a little bit because there's a very important point that I would like to make, and I did make a whole separate video on this as well that is on our resource center here at Immigration for Couples. So that aside, the digression that I'd like to make is with regards to tourist visas. There's a lot of rumors out there about how to do your own immigration case and that you should just come on a tourist visa and then adjust your status, and that that's the best way to do your case. And I know that there are people out there that said that they have done that, but I, as an immigration attorney and as someone who wants to give you honest and accurate legal advice, coming on a tourist visa with the intent to get married and to remain in the United States to complete the adjustment of status process is considered by immigration to be fraud or misrepresentation. So that is the aside of, yes, you have to have been inspected or admitted, but that doesn't mean that you can come on a tourist visa with the intent to get married and remain here in the United States. So that could make you ineligible. That is a whole nother topic, and I'm going to create a whole nother video on that, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a disclaimer. I would be remiss for not sharing that information will be provided in another video, but that coming on a tourist visa with that intention would not work for that first requirement of having been inspected or admitted, okay? All right, so let's move on. Again, I had mentioned there are 4 eligibility requirements. We just talked about number 1, that you had to have been admitted or inspected. Eligibility requirement number 2 is that you are physically present here in the United States at the time of filing your application, and you do have to remain here in the United States throughout the application process unless you receive a travel permit. So that's number 2, physically present in the United States. Eligibility requirement number 3 is that you have to have, or rather that there has to be a visa available for you at the time of filing. And so the great thing about marriage adjustment of status is if you're married to a United States citizen, there is no what they call a visa quota. When you're married to a United States citizen, spouses of United States citizens are considered immediate relatives. So that is an eligibility requirement that you would find on the USCIS immigration website. So I wanted to go over that, but it really isn't applicable if you're married to a United States citizen. That can make you eligible to be able to just go ahead and apply without having to wait in line. So I also want to explain with a little bit more clarity that if you were married to a lawful permanent resident, then you would have to wait in line for a visa to become available. And what that means is for certain categories of immigrants, i.e. spouses of lawful permanent residents, there is an annual visa quota, an amount of visas that can actually be issued to certain family members, and those individuals have to wait in line. While there is a possibility that once there became a visa available that you could adjust status, it's really quite complicated if you're married to a lawful permanent resident to complete adjustment of status. In general, in those circumstances, we would look and see if the lawful permanent resident spouse would be able to become a citizen, or what options would be for a spouse visa. So in general, you would be married to a United States citizen, and then that requirement of having to wait for a visa to become available wouldn't be relevant. So I wanted to clarify that eligibility requirement number 3. And then the last eligibility requirement number 4, is that you have to be admissible. And that's a fancy way of saying that you have to be eligible to be able to receive a green card. That eligibility requirement of admissibility is a very big umbrella category, because in that category, there might be individuals who have certain grounds of inadmissibility. To name a few, immigration has a very long list under the Immigration and Nationality Act of issues that a person could have that can make them ineligible to receive their green card via adjustment of status. And in some instances, there's a way to ask for forgiveness with a waiver, and in some instances, there are no options, that there's what they call a permanent bar, and the person is never eligible to receive their green card. So that's eligibility requirement number 4, is that you need to be admissible. And on that long list of immigration issues that a person could have, or problems that a person can have, it includes anything from time in the United States without documents, so overstaying a tourist visa, for example, or entering without inspection, or certain criminal history. Those are just a few examples, but you'll want to make sure that you are admissible or eligible to receive that green card. And we will have other videos where we will talk about grounds of inadmissibility, but in general, those are the 4 eligibility requirements for adjustment of status.